Into game we go, LGD versus RNG. The stakes for this game, very little. Both these teams locked out of playoffs already. We will not be seeing them again after this series in spring. It'll be a long break until they come back to summer. Still got MSI to play before they come back with the rest of the teams in the LPL. LWX immediately going to have his Smolder banned away from him. Tenuan also going to have the Tristana removed. Besides that, a couple of our more lane-dominant carries and the Kalista and the Varus all taken away. Particularly, this Nautilus has risen to the top of the table in regards to like priority in the LPL, because this is so easy for a lot of our supports to play melee supports. They struggled on range supports, but LPL has loved playing the Nautilus again. It allows you to engage a lot more quickly when you've been struggling to set up a lot of fights. It allows you to ward more quickly as well and more safely. And on the other side, again, two very standard picks now in the Karma and the Shinsei locked in.
Especially as a kind of two-pick as well. You kind of see the both of them locked in pretty rapidly, either red 1-2 or on that kind of blue 2-3 spot pretty consistently. Something like the RE to pair up with the Nautilus makes some sense, because of course it's good sort of pick synergy, but of course we kind of talked as well about how Karma, generally speaking, does manage to beat out the RE earlier on in lane, though, at least in terms of shove. So potentially a bit of a difficult matchup for Haichao to navigate in the earlier stages.
You get pushed in. I mean, realistically, it just means you're not going to get priority in the way you're doing in other RE lanes. There are a couple of champions which do that. Nico, Karma are the two big ones which really manage that quite consistently. Annie sometimes as well. But you have to be... And actually, in fairness, Tenuan is actually a very good Annie player, so it wouldn't surprise me if later into the series, if the option presents itself, if there was a first pick RE, you'd see the Annie picked into it on the side. Shia, the very early Draven pick. Draven Nautilus locked in. LWX and Ming, they have been fantastic in lane so far in the last few series. But now they're going to have to go up against one of the best kill duos in the game. Alistar locked in. That is a losing support matchup versus Nautilus in the laning phase. It can help later on. You have double temporary frontline in the Xinjiao and the Alistar. What are you going to do to survive the 2v2?
Difficult as well. We need to kind of keep our eyes on Ming, who has regularly found some phenomenal engaged on the Alice. Of course, it's historically a pick he's found a lot of success on. He's been a long-term support here in the LPL and had a rough time of it the last sort of split and a half, but it's kind of starting to come back into form again, which I think is a bit of a relief for RNG fans. But of course, too late to do anything like a run for playoffs. Still though, into this next stage, it's going to be jungle bans for the side of RNG and a sort of jungle ban for LGD as well. The Jax flex option definitely there, and Breathe though not someone you want to give a free Jax to either.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Jax is normally great as a counter to that. By the way, it's something which I know that the League community is never going to get around to it, but technically the pronunciation of Xin Zhao is Xinjiao. Xinjiao. So if you remember, so you know Zhuo, the support. So basically ZH is more of like a in the same way that you know like Genie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the DJ kind of syllable. It's kind of like that, the ZA, so it's more like Xinjiao. But let's be honest, because the League community has now gotten to like so used to this champion of this, it is just going to be Xinjiao.
It's reason Warwick is always Warwick to me.
Warwick. Yeah, no, there is actually a city called Warwick in the UK, which I'm not too far from as well. It has a really good League of Legends team, by the way.
It does, yeah.
So in fact, to the point where back when I was playing in UK university, always used to play against Grey Warwick. Anyway, back to the team. Meteor's gone back to the Graves. Very good individual pick potential now from Graves, ult, Draven ult, and people flying forward as well. I do think that RNG do have the front line to withstand this combo. Birdall's Aatrox is dangerous. I'm really waiting to see what Breathe can put into this lane now to lock this down. You don't have Renekton. This is something which a couple of LPL players have been playing up topside, but I feel like if you lock in the Jace, that's three squishies which potentially LGD can combo down. There's a lot of value now on Wei and Ming being powerful frontlines with the duration of their ultimates being that temporary frontline for 5 seconds while their ultimates are still running to make sure that LGD don't get themselves good picks.
I just want to track what LWX decides he's going to build here on the Kai'Sa, because we have started to see that kind of resurgence of the AP poke Kai'Sa with the Ludens and Crypt Bloom and the rest of it. If you lock that in alongside a Karma and of course the Jace, your ability to just volley down people from a screen away could be quite difficult for LGD to manage if they don't pull the trigger before their health bars have been depleted.
Yeah, so RNG range advantage and potentially frontline advantage as well. Actually, no, definitely frontline advantage. You only have the Nautilus who can be somewhat tanky, and even then that's not going to be very much as a support. I think for me, I look at what RNG have put together. LWX on the Kai'Sa, which of course he did so much work on in his World Championship run. He has a skin on the champion as well. Wouldn't surprise me if he's running that one. I feel like even though I like this team comp in isolation from LGD, I think RNG walk away with a more confident ability to play out this draft.
Yeah, I think some of the laning phases might be a little bit dicey. We'll have to keep our eyes on that, of course. If the Draven or the Graves in particular start snowballing, it gets a bit dicey. Because then actually if your front lane doesn't get to stand up to the pick, it gets pretty difficult. And if you start having Xin Zhao ult blown for free on a retreat, or the Alistar ult blown for free on the retreat, that front lane doesn't get to stand up, suddenly that artillery line in the back line doesn't look as safe as it did, say, 10 seconds or so before.
So, again, just to reiterate, this game means very little in terms of standings. Both of these teams have been locked out of playoffs already. This is just their last chance to show themselves on good form before they take themselves a break, and we'll see them in summer. It'll be a long time waiting to see these players on your screen again. So if you're fans of them, fans of the teams, LGD, RNG, both former LPL champions. LGD used to do that back in 2015 and 2020. So the legend goes that LGD, they come every 5 years. Champions in 2015, champions in 2020. They're waiting for another year to become relevant again. RNG, obviously, been one of the greatest teams of all time out of the LPL. They're fallen on hard times, though. Only the second time they've ever lost playoffs.
Godfrey about to come back out of retirement.
Wayless?
Yeah, Wayless, oh boy. The arrow of the gods. And now we instead need to turn our eyes perhaps to the current year, not the year after. There's the runes up on screen. It will be the, I think that's dematerializes there for the Ari.
It is, yep. Dematerialized and triple tonic.
There you go, it's pretty standard there. Nothing particularly unusual there with the runes. We'll note that Jace's gone towards a phase rush over something like the first strike, which he can sometimes do, but that makes no sense.
I was wrong with it. LWX doesn't have the Kai skin, that's Jackula.
Yeah,
so he has the Vayne one.
Yeah,
I
would say.
I was like, oh, LWX has a skin on the channel. I'm like, wait, no.
I didn't want to say anything. I was like, maybe I've just forgotten. But
no, I'm just wrong. I was just like, oh yeah, that skin. And I was like, wait a second, I'm wrong. He has a Vayne one FPX. Thing is, I forget the FPX skins because sadly they're just not as good as the IG ones.
No, I think that they were a little bit. They weren't as popular as I think people were kind of hoping. There's a cool, like the Gangplank one has some cool moments. It's kind of got a cool logo. That's
but then you still have like Special Forces Gangplank, which is so cool.
That's true.
And you
is not bad.
I'm trying to think what my favorite world champion. So my favorite world champion skin of all time is Samsung White Talon because of the story behind it. I don't think this is going to be killing boss. I just keep talking about that one. So those of you that don't remember Samsung White in 2014, by the way, not the best team of 2014. That was actually Samsung Blue. Like, so many people forget this. Samsung Blue by far the best team of 2014. A lot of the time, the team that wins the world championship isn't actually the best team. Anyway, that's the thing. But yeah, particularly the Talon skin for that mid lane was actually due to the story between Samsung White beating their sister team, and the jacket which Talon wears is the jacket which Dade gifted to Pawn after he won that series. It was the general's jacket of Samsung. Anyway, we'll have a pause. We can keep chatting about this for a while. I think High Chow, we saw him disconnecting, so I'd imagine there's some client-side issues for him. Glad that we caught it early, and hopefully we get back up to speed soon.
Gotta hope that's resolved nice and fast. Has been one or two tech issues across the year for League of Legends this time around. It was a bit of a dicey moment for LCK before things got resolved a few weeks ago, and hoping, and having brought that up, we've not got any juju there's going to be a problem here. It should all be solved and back onto the Rift in short order.
No. You got a favorite world skin?
I've been thinking about that while you were talking about that. I think there's one or two of the Invictus Gaming ones, the ones that are really, really pretty. I think the Invictus Gaming one's long, cool. The Kais is gorgeous. I think EDG, some of the EDG skins as well are really nice. The Aphelios skin, the Grave skin, the VFX are just really, really gorgeous. I don't know, outside of that. I think there's a few which are just iconic to me and make me smile. TPA Mundo with his world class, it just makes me smile.
I think, I mean, I really love, I actually really like SKT Renekton. I think that's really cool. Marin's Renekton skin. I just love like the T1 wings as like the crescent blade. I like that one.
The SKT Jin skin is pretty cool with the wings.
Yeah, Jin and Nami, they're both very cool. I really like 2016 MSI skins. No, not the MSI skins, but 2016 SKTs.
Yeah,
they were really cool. Back into game, that's nice. I really like Samsung Xayah as well. That one's really cool. The Samsung Galaxy Xayah, which is ruler skin.
Yeah, it is indeed.
Wait, off of Vision here, just spotted by Meteor though.
Yeah.
Shame for that.
High Chow will take a chunk there from a Mantra Q, the Soul Flare coming on through alongside a Wind Becomes Lightning. So High Chow loses half his HP bar still, which kind of sucks, not gonna lie.
Yeah, particularly in early lane as well. Every time the mantra comes up from... Actually, a lot of Ahri versus Mage matchups is, do I have enough health to trade very hard and try and look for, like, all in for all in? Because Ahri loses against mages cooldown to cooldown, if you're just playing one cooldown to one cooldown, because you need a full combo to match damage there. It's why we see Orianna beat Ahri sometimes. We see Karma beat her in lane. We see even stuff like the Annie, you just trade one skill and the Ahri can't really trade back well. You need the electrocute, you need your full combo. So losing some health like that just means it's harder to stay in lane. It wouldn't surprise me if Haichao can only really eat another Mantra Q and then have to back off.
Yeah, definitely a little bit difficult to manage. Does have the teleport, of course, to see what they can manage. Ming does a really good job with buffering the pulverize into the head, but a flash forward stack and blow means Ming is now in danger. Not quite taken down. With Meteor around and Ming very low, I think he's going to have to retreat here.
We did say, what could you lock in as the AD carry to... Okay, back in the podcast mode. But what could you lock in as an AD carry to survive laning phase? It is the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa are also strong at level 2. You have multiple forms of CC, which allow Kai'Sa to get a load of plasma. Wait, who's DC this time? Folks, what's the problem here?
Ming's like, excuse me, my health bar is missing. I don't quite understand why.
Hey, folks, can we remake? Is this a scrim?
Yep.
Maybe they're just trying to pause to get more time on stage before they have to take a break until summer. Just like, hey guys, we're really comfortable here, but can we just use up all of our pause time and just, you know...
Like, you do hear stories, legitimately though, of like, even things like, so, but like, for example, before LEC's teams go on stage and stuff, they do warm-up games. So you play versus other teams in the studio and stuff for warm-up games, and like, those tilt teams, if they go wrong, like if you've had a bad scrim week and then you have your warm-up games and it's like, oh man, we lost the matchups we've been practicing, like, teams can get really tilted by that kind of thing. So like, yeah, you genuinely, that kind of remake culture, when games start getting a bit dicey early on, when you're already feeling a bit stressed, can be pretty significant.
I'm trying to think what other... So, you know, I found my one issue with the...
Only one?
With the IG... One thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try.
Yeah,
keep that in mind. Design this rhyme to explain to you all.
You designed this rhyme.
All I know. This rhyme's
You don't know a lot, do you, then? It's a relatively, like,
actually,
limited
Sam,
song.
actually, all I know is, like, the first 3 albums worth of lyrics.
Linkin Park, and that's just all that goes into casting.
So last year, so yesterday was the 21st anniversary of Meteora. So Meteora, 21 years old. It is my favorite album of all time, by the way. But yeah, my issue with IG Kai'Sa is I just like other Kai'Sa skins too much. I love
some really good
Lagoon Kai'Sa is really cool. Ink Shadow is really cool. The original KDA Kai'Sa is awesome too. I don't like the all-out one as much. This is the Ink Shadow one.
LWX just ghosted to get back to lane as well. To try
Yeah,
and
it's a common thing.
To try and catch this wave.
So
just worth noting, of course.
It's 15 seconds or whatever of increased mobility, and like it's on a lower cooldown than every other summoner spell in the game, so it's just an easy half reset. You know that, funnily enough, Sam, the player who designed that sort of recall to ghost back to lane was Dade on Samsung Blue in 2014, the person who was behind the origin story of Samsung Talon with the General's jacket. He would do it on stuff like Ziggs and Xerath to permanently stay wave clearing in lane. You just ghost to lane or out of lane to get towards players. He would do that all the time.
Man, that is kind of cool. A little bit of history always feels good. The game state, though, remains relatively even, though Breed takes a solid opportunity to jump on forward. And Breed, of course, historically an excellent Jace player, and he's been probably the most consistent member on RNG this split, even if the team itself has kind of struggled.
I've been corrected, by the way. It is actually still the IG Kai'Sa that he's running, but it's the Chinese exclusive Chroma.
Oh.
No, things are... By the way, it's not actually exclusive, by the way. You can actually get them. So you can get... So, for instance, basically, there were the top 10 players of all time from the LPL had a chroma for a champion each in the last year. So Uzi has a Soul Stealer Vayne chroma, and then you have a chroma for Kai'Sa as well. I believe that would
Did Shy get one?
He did. I'm trying to remember which character he got it for, but yes, he did. Yeah.
That's kind of mad. Also, the LWX now in a really scary position, though, as has to flash away from Xiaoya, who just whirls those axes and autos a damn guy down to about half HP.
LWX, one of our more famous players of all time in the LPL, up against a rookie in Xiaoya. He has had actually a pretty okay intro in LGD. It's the thing about LPL is that it can be quite difficult to view rookies, particularly since they don't always make playoffs and stuff like that. And obviously, in this year, we have some great rookies coming through, particularly Xiaofeng and Milky Way have been doing really well. Xiaoya, though, actually been doing pretty well in his own right, considering the level of LGD. 5 and 10. Not bad when you consider the players on this roster. Haichao and Xiaoya coming up together, having an okay run of things as far as the LPL goes. Dragon is up and alive on bot side of the map, but I don't think you're willing to just kind of throw yourself in here and kind of start it up for free. Well, maybe you can with LWX being so low pressure here. It is in fact going to be the Dragon started up. RNG really suffering on the bot side of the map, and I think they're really struggling because they have had to kind of pick a constellation lane of this Kai'Sa, which loses lane early on, but maybe can make things better later.
Oh yes, and of course, you know, you're looking at a guy like Xiaoye who spent a bit of time on IG Young, spent a bit of time on Joy Dream, following the footsteps of 1XN, literally, of course, who was on Joy Dream before moving up the LPL. These guys certainly have the hands and were very successful down there on these very aggressive lanes. That was one of the big deals down in the LDL, is how many kill lanes you saw.
Folks, we might take this cast a little bit more fast and loose until the action starts coming through as well, because the stakes aren't here. If you were to have, like, if you could choose a player to have a chroma on a skin, what chroma would you choose and why? Just you choose a pro player and you say, who would you do that with? I mean, Clearlove has Sejuani one, by the way, so he already has that.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I would be thinking of Alexic on Kha'Zix.
Oh, yeah.
On Mecha Kha'Zix as well, because that skin was famously played more than the base skin. I think that'd be great.
Diamond procs on Evelyn for back in the day might be a cool one.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd enjoy that.
Little bit of a shout out there. I think, what else could I think? Actually
Caps on Vayne.
Caps on Vayne, that would be funny. Faker on LeBlanc.
Meteor on bot lane.
That's a really good one, yeah. Making out like the K2 asteroid, trying to cause an absolute disaster, and the extinction of hope down here as Xiaoye cashes in. LWX dead to right, Xiaoye just about alive. They'd love to get another auto onto Ming. Finally the line into a flash out. Meteor does it with style.
Oh, great stuff. That was such a weird dive, because normally you don't see dives where both mid laners are there at the dive as the dive is happening. Sometimes they clean up afterwards, but Hydra and Tenuance is like, guys, we need to get this done now, otherwise it's going to be a problem. 2 kills for none somehow, and importantly, cash in for Draven on the bot side of the map as well. He's been farming up well in the early lane, catching a lot of his axes, and Ming uses his combo a little too early. Doesn't have Aftershock, doesn't have his headbutt, can only get the Pulverize, and doesn't manage to stop Xiaoye getting a huge ult through. Plus 533 gold on top of the 300 on top of it, so there's an 800 gold cash in, I think, altogether. Ming dies afterwards with a Q bounce on the wall, despite the fact that Meteor is stuck there for a little while. RNG's bot lane, we've praised them in recent series. Tough decisions here, though.
I kind of did bring it up briefly, but, you know, Xiaoye and a lot of these LDL bot lanes are so used to this kind of bot lane, because you hit certain point in Fearless drafts where you just don't have the safe laners anymore, and things like Samira Rel or Draven lane start popping up, or Nila lane start popping up, and you are very experienced about playing for this kind of knife fight.
We have picture-in-picture, this will be the plane top side, because I'd imagine that's how Flash is blown from Breathe. Yeah, good stuff.
Really good dash back, actually.
But also Aatrox's really, really good, and he's going towards the Profane Hydra. The Propane Hydra, it's the hydrocarbon blade.
Does it come with a little song that goes do?
Why?
Propane Nightmares. But it's like, it's the same.
That sounds Sam. That sounded like Baby Shark.
I just didn't want to get us like.
You went do.
I went for the rhythm and not the actual melody.
Yeah. That being said, Propane Nightmares, fantastic song. Love Pendulum. It's the sequel I didn't know I needed in Propane Hydra. That's fantastic. But we've had some suggestions from chat. Captain Flowers, Skarner, and Kitty Yumi.
There's something appropriate.
So someone needs to get me a chroma.
She's a Nami main, guys. Come on.
I was about to say, like, I mean, she's a support, but is that going to be true? Bertel, he might be a master of great music. Might, however, be silenced a little earlier, but the flash will get him out just fine. The speaker system cuts off just briefly, and the plates go down on top side.
Do indeed, and everyone around actually also with 5 grubs to RNG's name as well. They're going to do a lot of damage.
I want the record to show that everyone else also thought it was Baby Shark that you were saying.
Oh god.
It was that bad, Sam.
I just wanted to, I remember you saying we want to be a bit careful with things like, you know, those DMCA checks on the audio as a fight actually occurring. So
Xiao has ult, has flash. This is at least 1 kill. Way's going to die. Can they chase for more?
Got to be careful. Remember, Breathe has no flash actually, so enough musing about the finer points of casting and more about the last breath of Breathe.
Well, if Birdall's putting up the Propane Nightmares, Breathe. So it's actually a song by Prodigy, and that one's been silenced too. Breathe's a great song, by the way. I think it's on the Fat and the Land album. Yeah. So we got ourselves a bit of a weirdly EDM top play.
It's kind of an odd mix of Pendulum and Prodigy.
Yeah, fantastic. That's one of the bands I really want to see live.
They would be great.
I feel like they'd be fantastic.
Have you seen the Invaders Must Die Machine?
They have, yes. So the Invaders Must. So you know the do. It's fantastic. It's done on like a little like arcade.
Wasn't it?
That was Baby shock thing. But it was done on a, but they made a machine into like a Pac-Man machine, but they did it for that. Anyway, right, back into the top lane play. Just an overstay, good teleport back as well. They push beyond their vision, and now suddenly, you know, RNG in a position where they have lots of gold missing from them. They're a very squishy team composition outside of the Alistar and the Shinstao ultimates. Giving this much gold over means that LGD can burst out the backline with so much more impunity. 2-0-2 on Meteor on this Graves. He's ready to start playing. We've got Propane Hydra almost in for Birdol as well. The next fight at one item for LGD could be catastrophic for RNG.
I do want the record to show that you were singing Omen, not Invaders Must Die. That's fine.
Oh, yeah. Ah, you're right. Ah, okay, you know what?
One for one, there we go.
You're absolutely right.
Got him. Right, so LGD.
I'm really annoyed now.
4 kills to none, up a lot of gold despite a very aggressive shove onto the tower. The teleport behind costs them a lot of damage, and of course Meteor 2-0-2 Ghostblade completed on this Graves is a bit of a nightmare, especially looking towards bot side as well, where that is a Draven with a lot more gold than you'd like.
I think LGD are making a good decision to not just rush towards the dragon here. They want to get gold from plates as they're still up. Birdol getting a huge wave in topside. No one is responding to that. He's getting a lot of plates. Now the thing is, that is going to allow LGD to get towards some huge items on Aatrox. So instead of fighting before they're ready, which I criticize so many teams for, LGD, they let the second dragon go over and say, let's get gold before that first big fight comes in. But now they're caught anyway.
Oh, fantastic ult on him. Showy is down. That means the stacks are dead as well. Fortunately for him, at least he cashed in earlier, but this is still going to be a lot of stacks lost. Jinja does as well. Breathe pick up too.
LGD.
And I think Meteor could be in trouble here if he doesn't back, right? I think he's okay. Breathe's not going to face check him.
I think Meteor might look to kill him. He's just used all of his regular abilities as a chance for this to come out.
He's coming as well. Oh, boy.
No, so now Meteor's overstayed. No. Now he should have just recalled. Now he's going to potentially blow his flash. He has his ult as well. He doesn't use his get over the wall, and he might just die here as well. Awful turn of events for LGD. They decided not to fight towards that dragon. They end up not retreating well. They lose 3 members from it, and LGD, from what I praise as a good play for basically saying don't fight before you're ready, they sleepwalk into a fight anyway.
Give a load of shutdowns over as well. That's a disaster. Draven loses stacks. Kai'Sa gets a kill. You get first turret top. Oh, actually, it wasn't first turret. That already went down bot side, but still a hefty failure here from the side of LGD, who just have a flash engage from Ming come through into a phenomenal follow-up from LWX.
If you are backing off from that dragon fight because you don't feel like you're ready to fight, you have no business walking into the river or not being under your own turrets. You're looking to allow time for Birdol to go topside. Birdol has to teleport in to try and save the rest of his team members. He should have just left well alone in topside. Sadly, he blows his teleport. He is a one-eye now. He is very strong. But LGD, that's a massive fumble after what was, in my mind, the correct play.
Oh, Angry just a little bit disappointed. Maybe a bit of a turnaround here. The violence comes on through the Whirling Death. It's a cash for Showy, and LWX goes down. Now Ming in danger. Does have the Unbreakable Will pop. Over the wall. Comes Wei. Will claim the life of the Draven, but it's already too late. The cash-in happened. What happens at the end of this is a charm comes on through Wei. Does not have the Crescent Guard, so does go down, and Birdol picks up a second kill, and LGD punch back.
Birdol comes to play on the Aatrox. This has been the LGD champion for this split. If they win, it's through Birdol's Aatrox more often than not. Breathe still on this top side. I don't think you can realistically get much done here. The World Ender has gone off, but he's just getting himself a safe recall. We've seen this a number of times on both sides now. Herald's going to go down. LGD, they get themselves... Wait, he's going to spot him on the sweeper.
He's going to try and jump on them. This could still be really scary. There's a lot of damage back. Meteor has got the collateral damage, trying to get towards the blast cone, cannot do it, and Breathe just sticks around and does what Meteor tried to do, but better. Alright, and away we go. What an amazing little pick. I kind of appreciate that. It's a little bit annoying for Meteor as well, having just tried to do the same, but then failed to do so.
Yeah, now we can finally calm down just a little bit. So, Herald into the side of LGD. They will be able to use that potentially to break up a mid lane out of turret. Birdol about to get his World Ender back. Again, very, very strong. Breathe needs to be very careful in this matchup now, despite the fact that he was winning a little earlier in the lane. This is the point where it doesn't matter who you are in top lane. Birdol can absolutely burst you out half HP. He needs to be so careful. You can't stand up like this. This is exactly what we were worried about. You can flash for a Q3.
Oh, and just murders him. And now Birdol with that speed boost begins to run away. The teleport comes on through, tagging him with a bit of a speed buff himself as LWX is here. Over the wall he goes, but that just should be a ult over the wall for LWX. We'd love to secure the kill and does so. So it becomes the 1-for-1. Teleports popped, of course, but it is still big trade 1-for-1. Haichao, they're taking this opportunity to shove away into the tier.
Yeah, there's no one able to respond towards bot lane now, so LGD playing really well around Birdall's Aatrox, and I think Breathe just not really respecting that as well. Great hook out of Fog of War from Jinzhao. Body block comes in from Ming to potentially save it, but it's just too much damage comes down too quickly. The charm blocked out, but that's just about it. Wei killing off Xiaoye, that ends up setting up well for them too. Thing is, Xiaoye, he's got to look himself a good early start to this game in terms of the shutdowns which he's got, but he's not necessarily the safest carry in this game. Wei, he's also been a bit of a stalwart for RNG. Can be very, very powerful at trying to get towards that backline himself. 2 items, a Kraken Slayer weirdly on top of the Essence Reavers. Typically not those 2 item combination from Xiaoye, but the extra attack speed definitely does not go amiss.
I think potentially when you're expecting to have people coming very aggressively at your face, you are going to want to try and just stand and deliver best you can.
Someone rightfully pointing out as well. It's Draven. When we have, Draven has a hell of a lot of gold. There's actually quite a funny thing here. When we were talking about the correct pronunciation of Xinjiao, and then you have Jinjiao.
Yeah, I know.
So this is why when you come into like very intonation-heavy languages and where definite syllables which aren't as present within Western languages and stuff like that, then you can often put your foot in your mouth a little bit as well. So anyway, we'll keep our eyes on that one. As we try our best with opinion pronunciation. We try it. Dragon spawning 4 seconds. There's no early soul points from either of these teams. Big damage items in from both sides now, though. Breathe does not have himself the Muramana just yet.
Haichao's on vision but doesn't know it, so the Ahri is exactly where they expect him to be. There's a hook going forward, but Wei now turns it around. Big damage onto the Nautilus who dies. The Dragon secured. Now the charm is pretty solid. Knock up on the Wei, but he's got a Crescent Guard running. Ming now trying to get back as well. Birdall on the flank trying to go forward, trying to get some damage on to the Alistair who flashes on forward, getting LWs to the backside, but he's going to get that much value! What are you doing? Now Ahri begins to fly with some more of the resets! Flashing away, still trying to trade out. Xiaoye picks up an axe and begins to continue wailing on him! That Kraken Slayer damage alongside Ahri just resetting on everybody brings LGD to a big point of power.
Haichao walks away with a triple kill and 10 Dark Seal stacks.
Oh no.
But pretty much puts Haichao an extra 1,000 gold up. It's so much extra HP. Tenuan has himself Mantra Q. He wouldn't be able to kill with just that first proc anyway. Haichao goes back, finishes himself up a Horizon Focus. You know what, at this point, I would have actually just gone towards the Medrise, but that's just me, folks. Either way, great fight from LGD in terms of actually their damaging carries able to have a much stronger fight than they did the last time. The big moment of this play here is actually just the huge ultimates going to Wei, which forces ult in a very defensive manner. He isn't kind of buying space with his ultimate, he's buying his life. Ming then allows LWX into the play, but it's not a single target Q. It's a 4-person Q. He goes into melee range of 4 different people and immediately dies. Not a great fight from LWX, and while Breathe almost turns things around with a great Q onto multiple people, doesn't quite manage it himself, so the damage from RNG and a couple of the big plays just go completely against them, and my eyes are particularly on LWX for messing that up.
Yeah, they tried to find the turnaround engage. Ming realized he wasn't getting out, went, well, maybe I can get something started. And unfortunately, it was an end. Now you've got to collect it on Graves. You've nearly got a, looking to be an Infinity Edge on Xiaoye as well. He's going full damage, Graven. Very, very scary. And of course, as you said, this Ahri with the additional just raw stats of that Dark Seal, you kind of don't, it can be a bit of a sleeper power item if you do get all those stacks on it.
And there's absolutely, no incentive for RNG to go towards big magic resist. We have one set of Merc Treads coming in from Ming, and that makes sense. He'll have his ultimate to be tanking otherwise. There's no magic resist out anywhere else. So Haichao, a sole AP, very much set up to do a lot of damage against the squishier members of RNG. As soon as he hits towards 3 items, and I really think that Medrise can help in terms of that kind of damage, I really think that RNG cannot allow either Birdall, Haichao, or Xiaoye to have a clean fight.
I will note that Breathe, with the 5 grubs, managed to get that hold of that tier 1, get half of the tier 2, force a teleport out. So they've still managed to get at least a little bit of map control, and RNG finding some ways back, but the problem is they are down near enough 5,000 gold. That's not going to be an easy deficit to overcome.
Particularly because, so much of that gold is on so many different carries. I was saying, Birdall, Haichao, Xiaoye having clean fights. I mean, Meteor's there too. You talked about the Collector on him already. RNG have a lot of threats they need to check, which means that realistically, they need to look for fights where everyone is hitting Wei or Ming when they've got their ultimates running, or they try and take one of these pieces out of the puzzle from LGD, and they make sure that they can't just bring all of their carries to bear. They have some ability to do that. They do have the ability to run in with Wei and Ming and then have LWX flying over the top. But LGD, as long as they stick together in a couple of numbers, it feels really hard for RNG to fight back against the huge damage on their team.
I think we're starting to see the issue as well as the front line is just not as tanky as you'd like. Needlessly large rod pulled in for Haichao, but we'll talk about that in a second. His Bertol in a 1v2 versus his two opposite solo laners trying to play this without, and all the while Baron's being started!
So they do have double TPs on the solo lanes, but they need to be able to kill Bertol quick enough that they can get towards the play. 4,000 HP on the Baron. Can they get the steal?
Now they're teleporting in. It might be a little late. It's a decent headbutt pulverized, so now he can get into the pit to try and steal this one out. The fight back is pretty good. Haichao over the wall doing his best. LWX follows though, and that'll be all of the stacks disappearing. Baron secured. But what about the fight afterwards? Meteor trying to quick draw his way to safety. Xiaoye though just unleashes. He's 1v3. Nearly murders them all. Doesn't quite have the DPS.
But as he dies, the Baron buff goes with it. Bertol not there to be the disruptive team fight threat. And you know what we said, RNG, they can pull bits of the puzzle away from the LGD team composition. They don't even need to. The Baron makes the difference. And with that, RNG get themselves a lot of shutdowns, a lot of extra gold off the table. The Baron's no longer there for LGD to hold over them. How the hell did this even happen? I mean, Bertol dies on the other side. You have double teleports coming in from RNG, and we did say that, you know, that was going to be a big threat of it. Yes, the Baron is secured by LGD, but look how much damage they've taken at the start of this. Haichao completely blitzed at the start of this play. Jin Zhao flashes over the wall, and he can't do anything more to LWX. It's just Xiaoye then trying to 1v5 afterwards, and he's strong, but he's not 1v5 strong. Flashes in, ends up dying for the attempt, and sadly can't clean up the entire team.
He gets 3 though. That's not bad going. Good God, the damage isn't bad. He comes back out with an Infinity Edge and a Last Whisper. Guy is online.
Well, it's not the Last Whisper, he actually sells it.
Okay,
sold it for the extra BF sword. Now, RNG, with the extra gold in pocket, they've got themselves some decent items. They have the range advantage now, and they have their ultimates back up, and they have flashes. That's not something which Xiaoye has. I think LGD lose the next fight, and with that poke coming through, it's going that much harder. RNG, now is the time to strike.
Meteor going to step forward and try and trade this one out. Way looking for the smite fight. Breathe looking for some good accelerated shock blast. Lands it onto Haichao. He's not missed a shock blast yet. The whirling death comes through to no avail. Now Bertol at the back end of this pit needs to get out of there, and RNG claim a second dragon. It's all even on that front.
So RNG, they don't find themselves a fight off of that, but they get themselves an objective which increases the timer a little bit for the game in regards to Infernal Soul coming down. So, LGD, it's a fumble. We've known them to have them. Particularly when Bertol is not impactful in team fights, LGD can really start to struggle. I really think Bertol is the most impactful player for LGD when he's not at those plays. I mean, that time's because he's just died in the side lane, and he did pretty well in the 1v2. I'm not even going to blame him on an individual level, but LGD, they need to find a way to get Bertol back into the game now.
Again, I think the decision then to try and turn and burn on Baron made some sense. It's just, fortunately for them, there was a lot of good skill shot accuracy from RNG and Haichao just disappearing at the start of the fight meant your DPS was somewhat lacking. Xiaoye did his best, and Meteor, having been chunked out by the Baron, wasn't in the best position to survive a 1v3 himself, so a bit dicey. The problem is, any further fights, look at this Draven, he will just delete whoever stands in front of him.
Another thing which is coming through as well, LWX almost towards Nash's. That will be W of Xiaoye. No flash, they're looking for the fight. Anyway, Jin Zhao caught.
Boy, that's so much damage from so long away. Meteor steps forward to throw an auto at Wei that does just nowhere near enough.
Also worth noting as well, Ming, Wei, they both have their ultimates coming up shortly, or at least Wei has his to complete the duo from that. While this is happening, the range advantage from RNG becoming all too apparent. Tanuan, 3 items, doesn't even need himself the Horizon Focus to help in terms of that percentage damage increase. Haichao, what can he do on this Ahri? He is still strong. Dropped some stacks, but still at 7. He's absolutely fine with that in his own regard. He needs to find a way into this game. He's going towards the Death Gap, brute forcing that as the 3rd item. I really feel like he's got to be a big carry here into the late game because he can be a big playmaker to stop RNG from just playing around the range advantage.
A little bit of that replay in the picture-in-picture, just the raw DPS. That hook going wide means he's stuck there in the middle of nowhere, dies for free, and then on the other side, you look at your Breathe, who I haven't seen miss a shock blast in the last 2-3 minutes at best. He has been hitting everything. He's got 3 items now. He does hit very, very hard.
And we see the Xin Zhao kill the Jin Zhao. I think even if that hook hits, he dies. There's no way he gets out of that one. Jin Zhao, I think actually it's been a question more about his positioning and the rest of the team being able to follow up on things. It's not been so easy. LGD, they played pretty well from ahead. It's just that one Baron play which put them into a huge deficit beyond this point. Both supports rocking those Celestial oppositions and still have that online right now. But LWX, he can start poking. Breathe can start poking even more. 3 items on him. Karma as well. RNG feels like if the engage doesn't come quickly, they just shred LGD.
Yeah, they do. And of course, Bertol, trying to play these side lanes, has been a regular recipient of 2-man attacks from the likes of Breathe and Tangling that led to Baron debacle. There we go. That's the phrase we'll use for this one.
Incident.
The incident at Baron. Death cap just got completed by Haichao, so the RE, another big point of power. Got double Last Whispers in for the Aatrox and the Graves. Still building towards what's likely a Bloodthirster for Xiaoye. We'll see whether that ends up as something like a GA as well.
So despite the fact that LGD have themselves a gold advantage, you don't really feel it that much. Because the range advantage from RNG means that they can leverage the gold they have better. LGD, what do they need to win a game? They need quite intricate flank setups. I feel like they need that. They need Bird on a flank, Haichao getting a key target out. RNG don't need that. They can push in waves effectively now, and they just have to land skill shots on enemy champions. And if they miss that skill shot, no matter. They can just go again. If you miss a flank, though, you lose the game. Minute until Dragon. That won't be potentially the game-ending fight, but it could be one of the game-deciding ones. It really feels like both these teams are starting to eye that objective up, fight over mid-lane priority, fight over vision, and make sure, particularly from the side of LGD, that they don't mess up into these skill shots. That's one spell shield gone. Skill shots landing.
And Xiaoye has got that fourth item. It was the Bloodthirster, so a full item ahead of LWX, but again, this Draven needs to be able to hit people and not die doing so. An easier task said than done. Birdle chunked out so low. The collateral damage back, though, is good. Ming forced to ult to survive something like a whirling death. Haichao, though, did ult as well.
Okay, so Ming, no ultimate. Big important moment there because that's part of the front line gone. LGD, they say, screw the Dragon. Let's go towards the Baron instead, particularly now that the front line is back in base and doesn't have ult. Haichao doesn't have his own ult, but he can look to maybe delay. The Karma Shields are making that hard, though.
As indeed, Wave can still be difficult when he's still got the Crescent Guard. There's the hook turnaround to begin to throw people away.
Oh, it's another flip, folks.
It's going to be another flip. Smell the burgers in the air, the frying onions. Who the hell has got this order? Already the jungler's dead. The flip was never a flip in the end. It's a gourmet meal served up by LGD. The turnaround, though, might end up with a second course that is much more RNG favored. Haichao needing to think about backing away, splitting up from the rest of his team. Birdle on a flank, looking to try and get something out. The decent stand aside there, doing some work. Birdle could still get on the backside. Onto LWX. Cannot ult out of danger right now. Down 20% HP as Haichao has got a second charge of the ultimate to run with. Continues to throw damage out onto this Kai'Sa, who needs to stay away. Bree throws out a huge shock blast, though, and the range discrepancy in the spacing proving too difficult. Voidseeker lands, will not be taken forwards. LWX still with that killer instinct, can still look to go forwards. RNG back in force, can look to continue trading. Xiaoye stands and delivers so much damage, trying to trade on out. Flash away from Ming's head, but Pulverize gets two, but it's not enough. Meteor trying to run over the wall and will survive for now, but already they lost a couple. Look at Haichao on the flank. Has he got anything to work with? There's just no ultimate yet. The health bars are low, but I don't think it's 1v3 low.
Charm.
The Charm goes wide.
Ah, man, Haichao can't end up really delivering anything left in that end of that team fight. 2 Baron buffs surviving as opposed to the 0 from the last one. RNG, once again, proving that they can stand toe-to-toe in terms of damage against LGD. The gold advantage here for LGD, it's not always as apparent as it seems. Dragon, of course, ignored during all this. There's a chance we get another fight, and that's why we're teleporting back in. The Dragon's the prize if big kills come down.
Flash away, another Q, lads. Just out of range of the accelerated shock blast, and this is where things get dicey. The thing is, the Kai'Sa as well, beginning to transition towards more APs. That'll be another poke member for the squad. It's not just going to be a dive and press Q comp.
So RNG, they get some kills after that Baron, and they're going to get themselves onto the Dragon. It is soul points. LGD, once again, struggling to get Birdle involved in clean fights. The last one, Birdle almost assassinates LWX. He couldn't quite make that happen. Watch see what Birdle does on the side here. Almost lands the kill on here. Misses the first Q, though. If he hits that, it's an instant kill. There's no plasma easily available for LWX, and he had no, well, he did have flash, but still, Xiaoye couldn't quite finish up for that kill either. LWX outplays just about, and as we come back to live, 1 for 1, as Breathe dies, but Haichao also goes down.
Potentially very significant. Breathe has been a huge part of just the amount of damage. Xiaoye hit with the Void Seeker there. Needs to be a bit afraid. I think LWX could pull the trigger potentially. They've thrown down Blue Orb. They won't go for anything more, and Xiaoye, just about okay here. He's very scary on the Draven, even in a 1v3.
Wei needs to be really careful of that Draven. Both of these champions, a little bit of a, I'm not going to say a complete lore matchup, but they're both no support. Okay.
That's the ult and the flash down from Wei. That's a pretty significant moment. Birdle finds an angle in the backline as well onto Tangyuan. I was really to see who that was, only saw the feet.
I was about to say that, you know, technically Draven's kind of like one of the Gladiator type champions as well. It's not quite the same as Shinsei, who of course was in part of the Gladiator pits from before he's made his way over to the Crown Guard. He's part of the Demacian Crown Guard kind of military now,
He's
right?
the
he's the Seneschal or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Seneschal, is that it? So Haichao blows the spell shield first. Yep, you have to lead with the Q or the W. The Dravenel almost gets the return. Can't quite get that there. Gets himself the short range ultimate. LWX flies in as the party. Straight 1-for-1 in terms of the trade. Love this matchup. You know, in the past, that Ari used to be a counter to Jason mid lane back in 2017 MSI. You used to see that. That was one of the few times there. It's kind of weird to think that Ari is a meta champion now, because you had 2013 where Ari was meta in 2014, then nothing up until 2017 where they were there for one patch, and then nothing up until like 22. That was like when Ari has been meta at those points. But back then it was a Jace counter, back when she was a full assassin with the damage amp on E, potentially looking for a fight. Haichao going forwards, hits the charm.
Ming will immediately press R himself, so the Unbreakable will deny the CC. The turnaround damage that once again is so big, and this is what we said in draft. If they don't manage to find the clean engage before the poke comes on through, they won't have any health bars to fight with.
So, ult's coming out, Meteor throwing one across the way as well. RNG, again, they have the range advantage. This is what we keep saying. But LGD are finding ways to actually start the fights now. They're getting some vision down, RNG. They've not managed to keep themselves to the full chokehold. And you know, we started this game talking about a lot of different stuff and talking about how, oh, what chromas would we have for different pro players and champions? Actually getting quite close in this tense late game now. Again, no stakes for this game except for pride, but we have some very proud players in the LPL, so it has turned itself into a tense affair.
It has nearly a death cap for LWX, who has been behind the gold of this Draven for a little while. That's good charm away. Got a Crescent Guard, and the other big ultimate down. Now Ming goes in, gets a big knock on a meter, but no one else. Remember, there's no ultimate left, so he's just dead. Shock Blast, wide for once from Breathe, and it's just a clean pick.
This is the good part of what Haichao is doing on this kind of Ahri build, right? With the new season of Ahri, you have such low ult cooldown, you can trade your ult to look to try and get either the Xin Sao or the Alistar ults down on cooldown as well. Does that, uses the timing window where the Alistar and the Xin Sao don't have their ults available, and gets something for it. Well played. A play in multiple parts. No, I wouldn't call it quite Shakespeare, but it's a play all the same. Would you say that Shakespeare, would he be as good playmaker in League of Legends as he was a playwright?
Well, considering he wrote a tragedy that has 5.1 atrocities and acts, including rape, mutilation, and murder, like that's Titus Andronicus for you. So yes, is the answer.
You know, one thing I learned from that is that the greatest punishment in Rome was for patricide, when you killed your father.
Oh, yes.
So in Rome, if you killed your father, patricide, you'd be thrown into the River Tiber in a bag filled with a cat, a dog, and a snake. After your hands have been cut off, I think, actually, as well. It's pretty nasty. Don't really know how that comes back to this.
Well, considering how I play League of Legends, I'm not sure I would be that much better with hands, to be honest. You know.
Wow. Nice.
What's changed, really?
Yeah, but anyway, go read Titus Andronicus if you like Game of Thrones, I guess. So anyway, Baron's been started back up, and if you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. This could be the death knell for the team that loses the next fight.
Down goes the Baron, and away they go. Jinzhao in a spot of bother, has to flash away. My
God,
this Nautilus, but look at Birdle! Forced to flash out of Ming. Not onto that important target right now is Haichao. Flash for the charm, forces Tango to flash in turn. Big orb deception with the Birdle. Murders Ming finally. The reset is Xiao here! Flashes forward, stand aside, and eat axe! Decapitated in the mid lane.
I think that's a couple more atrocities to put onto this play. LGD get themselves a Baron. Finally, they get themselves out with a clean Baron. The first one, they lost 5 members. The second one, they lost 3. And in Act 3 of this play, LGD get out with a clean team fight and all 5 Baroned up members heading towards the Nexus.
Nothing left to be done. Tang Yuan alone against the Baron up minion wave and enough DPS from LGD to end this one. It was, in the end, a close affair, but a snowball Draven proved a little too hard to manage, especially once some of those picks began to happen onto the front line.
In a series that, folks, remember, this series doesn't matter that much in terms of standings. Now, it will be a leapfrog of one team over the other, so they get to hold that one over the other team. And for each of the players, too, I think it's a mark of confidence they can walk away from this series with some plays to their name. Game 1 going the way of LGD. I did say, you know, LGD, they probably had a harder composition to play out. You know, you've got that Aatrox, which needs to be flanking a lot of the time, and it was hard to do so. A lot of that game, actually, Birdle was not the main factor, but there were so many big damage threats that eventually everything came together in the late game.
Yeah, and you got a bit worried once the poke started coming online, and we're saying, look, LGD getting chunked out before every time they look for a fight. It's so hard to play, but actually in the end, it proved that once Haichao was hitting targets consistently, blowing the frontline ultimates, which was a huge part about actually how they were able to play those fights. They just couldn't play the game out the way they could with them, frankly, which I guess is no real surprise.